1 week before the college entrance exam, I was reborn. In my previous life, I was Lin Wanchong, the homeroom teacher of Class 1, Senior Year 3. In my class of 39 students, all of them simultaneously bound themselves to a cheating system, godlike intelligence, stealing points for lives, full score hints, score doubling. They traded the lifespan of their loved ones, the future of their parents, the marriage of their sisters, and the lives of their pets for what they called a shortcut to defy fate. Only Xia Ran, the top student in her grade, was targeted by a score-stealing system. She had held the top spot for 3 years, but in the final mock exam, her answers were swapped by the system, plummeting her from a perfect score to the bottom of the class. In my previous life, I discovered it too late. I advised them to stop, but no one listened. I went to the principal, but he was afraid of trouble and only said that the college entrance exam was approaching and we shouldn't make a big deal out of it. After the exam results were announced, all 39 of them scored 0, while Xia Ran became the top scorer in the province. They dared not admit they had cheated, so they blamed everything on me, saying I was biased, that I deliberately didn't teach them, and that I had taken money from Xia Ran. Parents blocked me in the office, reporters surrounded me, taking photos. Zhao Yang's father grabbed my hair and yelled at me, saying I had ruined his son's life. Zhou Zihao pushed Xia Ran in the chaos. I rushed to protect her, and was knocked down the stairs. As I fell, my ears were filled with their curses. You despicable teacher, why do you only protect Xia Ran? If you won't let us take shortcuts, you deserve to die. With my eyes open, I saw Xia Ran kneeling at the top of the stairs, crying her heart out. Blood slowly spread. At the last moment, a cold voice echoed in his mind. College entrance exam judge system activated. Justice has been desecrated, and the guardian has died in vain. Restart the trial. With my last breath, I chose yes. When I opened my eyes again, I was back to 1 week before the college entrance exam. This time, I won't bother trying to persuade the ungrateful one to turn back. Since they insist on stealing someone else's life, then I will personally push them onto the judgment seat. 1. I had just been reborn when I received a call from the principal. Teacher Lin, come to the rooftop quickly. Xia Ran is going to jump. I grabbed my coat and rushed out. The wind was strong at the top of the building. Xia Ran stood outside the railing, clutching a report card with a score of 53, her whole body seeming to have lost all its spirit. The principal was still trying to persuade her. Xia Ran, you've been the top student in your grade for 3 consecutive years. You're definitely material for Tsinghua or Peking University. This exam slip-up is just an accident. I coldly interrupted. Principal, the difference between first place and last place in the grade is 3 years of hard work, not just a simple slip-up. The principal's face stiffened. Hearing my voice, Xia Ran's shoulders trembled violently. I walked over slowly, softening my tone. Xia Ran, look at the teacher. Her tears fell instantly. Teacher Lin, I didn't make any mistakes. I knew how to solve every problem when I was doing the test, but after I handed it in, all the answers changed. I clearly wrote the correct answers, but on the transcript, they became blank. My parents said I'm useless, that I have no hope for the college entrance exam, and they're going to marry me off to that man in the neighboring town, a man in his 40s, with the dowry money going toward buying a house for my younger brother. In my previous life, it was only at that moment that I realized something was wrong, but back then, I had no evidence, so I could only weakly say I believed her. This time, I raised my hand and removed the pen from my chest. Inside the pen was the recording device I had turned on in advance. I looked at Xia Ran and said word by word, you are not a failure. If your grades were swapped, then swap them back. If someone steals your points, I'll find that person and expose them. If someone forces you to marry, I will call the police, contact the Women's Federation, and reach out to the media to expose them. Xia Ran, the college entrance exam is right around the corner. No one can give up for you. She stared at me blankly. Teacher, can I still trust you? I reached out my hand to her. Yes, this time, the teacher won't just save you, I will make them pay. Xia Ran finally grabbed my hand. Crying, I pulled her back from outside the guardrail. The principal breathed a sigh of relief and was about to smooth things over. I turned to him directly and said, Principal, immediately seal all surveillance footage, answer sheets, and system back-end records from this mock exam. Also, there are suspicions of forced marriage and domestic violence in Xia Ran's family. I will file a report with the police and the Women's Federation. The principal frowned. Teacher Lin, isn't it bad to make such a big fuss before the college entrance exam? I smiled. In my previous life, it was precisely because everyone feared making a big deal that things ended up getting completely out of control. The principal didn't understand, but he saw that I was resolute and could only nod. After settling Xia Ran, I immediately went to the monitoring room. The most suspicious person in this mock exam was Zhao Yang. He slept throughout the exam, and when he woke up, he barely touched his pen, yet he scored 730 points and Xia Ran filled the entire test paper, ending up with only 53 points. I copied the surveillance footage and the report card, then directly called Zhao Yang into the office. He walked in carelessly, not even bothering to zip up his school uniform. "Teacher Lin, what do you need me for? Don't tell me you want to ask me how I went from a struggling student to a top performer." I pushed the surveillance footage in front of him. In the video, he was sleeping so soundly that he was almost drooling. I asked, "You were sleeping the whole time during the exam, how did you manage to score 730 points? Zhao Yang's smile froze on his face. "Can't I suddenly have a burst of talent?" I pressed the record button on the pen. "Fine. Then explain this derivative problem to me now." I casually pulled out a test paper and circled the final, most difficult question from what he claimed was his perfect score paper. Zhao Yang stared at the problem for half a minute, and sweat began to form on his forehead. "This problem, I knew how to solve it back then, but I've forgotten now. I've circled another basic question. What about this one?" His expression turned completely grim. "Teacher Lin, are you serious? You're not happy that I did well on the exam, so you have to prove I cheated?" I said calmly. "Not proof, it's giving you a chance to say it yourself." Zhao Yang stubbornly tried to defend himself for a few more words, but eventually broke down under my relentless questioning. He slammed the table suddenly. "That's right, I cheated. Not just me, everyone in the class except Xia Ran cheated. We all bound the college entrance exam cheating system app. As long as we exchange real-world items for skills, we can easily get into Tsinghua and Peking University." I asked him, "What did you trade for it?" Zhao Yang replied nonchalantly, "My family's golden retriever, which we've had for 8 years, the system said. It would give me a new scroll system as long as I was willing to watch it die. Anyway, it's just a dog. If it dies, it dies." My fingertips tightened. Even though I had heard it once before in my previous life, hearing it again still made me sick. I asked again, "What about the others?" Zhao Yang said proudly, "Wang Xiyu traded her stunning beauty for double the score. Zhou Zihao traded his sister's unhappy marriage for the blessing of the exam god. Wang Tingting traded her mother's last month of life for essay prediction. Some even offered 10 years of their parents' lives as sacrifice. Others mortgaged their family factories, and some traded answers for the lives of relatives lost in car accidents. Teacher Lin, this time we are destined to all get into Tsinghua and Peking University." I asked coldly, "Why doesn't Xia Ran have a system?" Zhao Yang laughed with malicious glee. "There are only 39 system slots, and she's so good at academics, she didn't need one in the first place. Besides, Xianglan is bound to a score-stealing system, specifically targeting Xia Ran's points, who made Xia Ran so fond of showing off every day, always ranking first in the grade. It's annoying to watch." After saying that, he even asked me, "Mr. Lin, you're not going to report it, are you?" "You reporting it won't help. Systems aren't people, who can even find out." I watched the recording waveform fluctuate and said calmly, "You're right, ordinary people really can't find out. But I am no longer an ordinary person, I am the college entrance exam examiner, too." The next day, I held a class meeting. On the blackboard, I wrote 6 words, "There are no shortcuts in the college entrance exam." As soon as I finished writing, a bottle of Mito was thrown at me. I dodged to the side, and the bottle hit the blackboard, splashing water all over the floor. Zhou Zihao kicked the desk open. "Are you annoying or what? Always talking about this nonsense. I've already traded my sister's unhappy marriage for the exam god system. Next month, she's going to marry a domestic abuser. You won't let me take the shortcut, then you marry for my sister instead." The classroom instantly erupted. Someone joined in the commotion. "I mortgaged my dad's factory to get 280 points in science. Anyway, that crappy factory of his will go bankrupt sooner or later. My mom has breast cancer and has at most 1 month to live. Only 1 month of life for a prediction on essay topics. What a bargain." My aunt got into a car accident and I got a perfect score in English. She was so annoying in daily life. I actually thought the system was serving justice. In my previous life, I heard those words and trembled with anger, trying to reason with them, but they threw a broom covered in shit at me, cursing me for blocking their way. This life. I didn't say a word. I picked up the phone from the lectern and aimed it at the whole class. "Keep talking. They froze in surprise. Zhao Yang stood up, squinting at me. What are you filming? I smile, recording the words of the chosen one. Don't you all think you're so impressive? It would be a shame not to keep some evidence. Some people began to feel uneasy, but more had already been blinded by the illusion created by the system. Zhao Yang sneered. Teacher Lin, don't try to scare people. When our whole class gets into Tsinghua and Peking University, you'll still need us to rate you as a top-tier teacher. By then, even if you beg me, I might not even acknowledge you as our homeroom teacher. The classroom erupted in a burst of laughter. I raised my hand and tapped on the lectern. Quiet, since you don't need me to teach. Starting today, Class 1 of Grade 12 will have self-study sessions. They fell silent for a moment, then erupted in cheers. It's about time. The system already gives the answers. Who would still listen to you explain the problems? Teacher Lin finally has a bit of self-awareness. Xia Ran sat in the last row. Looking at me with a pale face, I walked over and placed a new study plan on her desk. Come with me to the small classroom. Zhao Yang dragged out his words. Oh, Teacher Lin is giving special tutoring to the top student again. Zhou Zihao laughed maliciously. Don't bother anymore. She's already been flagged by the score-stealing system. Even if she studies herself to death, she'll just be paving the way for others. I stopped in my tracks and turned to look at him. Zhou Zihao, he raised an eyebrow. What's up? What's your sister's name? He was taken aback. I said, I have already submitted the keywords from your earlier statement, along with those related to your sister's unhappy marriage, to the school for record keeping. If your sister is truly being forced to marry an abusive man, I will testify that you personally admitted to trading her marriage for the system. Zhou Zihao's expression changed. How dare you? I laughed. Of course I dare. Aren't you all convinced that the system is invincible? Then let's bet. After the college entrance exams, we'll see whether it can protect you, or whether I can send you away. The classroom suddenly fell silent for a moment. I took Xia Ran and left. Before the door closed, I heard Zhao Yang loudly mock. What are you pretending for? You're just a female teacher. Do you really think you're a judge? I paused in my steps. He was actually right. 3. For the next 7 days, Class 1 of the senior year went completely crazy. Other classes were in the final sprint, while they played cards, watched dramas, sang songs, and held celebration parties in the classroom. Zhao Yang even printed a template of a Tsinghua University admission notice and posted it on the wall. Get a head start on the experience. Wang Xiyu took out her phone to take a selfie, smiling and saying, my face is about to become that of a stunning beauty. Then I can pick any handsome guy from Qingbei. She didn't know that what she had exchanged wasn't just an ordinary appearance. The system would make her age rapidly after the college entrance exam, reclaiming every bit of her beauty. Doubled. Zhou Zihao constantly urged his sister to go on blind dates in the group chat. I was sitting in the small classroom, explaining problems to Xia Ran. When he sent a message, Xia Ran's fingers turned red from writing, and suddenly he looked up. Teacher Lin, what if they really use the system to replace my score? I closed the book. I won't, but in these 2 mock exams, mock exams can be interfered with by the system. But the college entrance exam cannot. She froze. I didn't explain the system, just pushed a copy of the police report and the Women's Federation filing materials over for her to see. Also, I've already contacted your parents. If they dare to pressure you into marriage again, I'll have the police visit them. Xia Ran's tears fell onto the paper. Teacher, why did you go so far to help me? In my previous life, after I died, she knelt beside the pool of blood, crying that if it weren't for her, I wouldn't have died. But it wasn't her fault. I gently touched her head. Because you did nothing wrong. Hard-working people should not have their lives stolen. Those who suffer should not be forced to accept their fate. Xia Ran nodded firmly. The day before the college entrance exam, Zhao Yang suddenly burst into the office. His face was pale, with dark circles under his eyes. Teacher, the system isn't responding to us. I looked up, my expression one of surprise. How could that be? Aren't you the chosen ones? Zhao Yang was so anxious that his forehead was covered in sweat. My X-ray vision system hasn't responded for 2 hours, the scroll system won't open either, and everyone else's systems are malfunctioning. I suppressed my smile and slammed the table. Standing up, this must be the system gathering power. Zhao Yang was stunned. Gathering power, I said seriously. Yeah, you've paid such a high price. The system should definitely give you a big surprise on the day of the college entrance exam. Revealing the answers in advance would be so unimpressive. A real system should make a stunning impact when the scores are being tallied. Zhao Yang's eyes lit up. Really? I nodded. I wouldn't be doing justice to your family's sacrifices if I didn't give you a provincial top student class. Zhao Yang didn't catch the sarcasm and excitedly ran back to the classroom. Don't be afraid, everyone. Teacher Lin said the system is building up strength, it will explode. Directly during the college entrance exam scoring, another wave of cheers erupted in the classroom. I stood at the office door, watching them run and scream. Good words can't persuade a doomed soul in this life. I gave them chances and left evidence behind. Now, it's time for them to pay for their choices. On the day of the college entrance exam, I was responsible for monitoring the exam hall surveillance on the screen. The students from Class 1, Grade 12 performed exceptionally well. Zhao Yang fell asleep as soon as the exam started. Even with a smile on his face, Zhou Zihao wrote 2 lines of the essay and spent the rest of the time spinning his pen. Wang Tingting stared at the essay topic for a long time, as if waiting for the system to predict the question. When she realized it wouldn't come, she started picking at her nails. Wang Xiyu secretly adjusted her hair while looking at the photo on her admission ticket, as if waiting for herself to become more beautiful. Xiang Lan sat in the corner, her face dark and gloomy, her answer sheet almost completely blank. Only Xia Ran remained, sitting straight-backed, her pen never stopping as it moved across the answer sheet. I zoomed in on the camera and saw that her problem-solving steps were clear, her handwriting steady, and her accuracy rate astonishingly high. After the first subject ended, Zhao Yang stopped me at the entrance of the examination hall. His voice trembled. Teacher Lin, why hasn't the system come out yet? My grading system is dead. I've already submitted my blank paper. Other classmates also gathered around. My answer prompt didn't sound. I guessed all the multiple choice questions. My perfect score system didn't respond either. Teacher Lin, what on earth is going on? I looked at them and gave a gentle smile. What's the rush? Didn't I say yesterday that the real big moves come during the final scoring? You must trust the system, and also believe in the price you have paid. Zhao Yang gritted his teeth. Right, my Nike cannot have died in vain. I didn't look at him again. She turned and called Xia Ran aside. First subject was good, keep it up. Xia Ran's eyes were slightly red. Teacher, they really won't steal my points again, right? I said, no, they can't steal it anymore. For the remaining subjects, they never came to complain to me again, because they have deceived themselves. On the day the exams ended, Zhao Yang and his friends even discussed at the school gate whether the admissions offices of Tsinghua and Peking University would come to compete for them. Xia Ran held the score estimation sheet, her hands trembling slightly. Teacher, I estimate my score to be around 730, very good, but what if? She didn't finish her sentence as Zhou Zihao snatched the score estimation form from her and tore it into pieces. What kind of backwater country bumpkin are you to even estimate scores? You should be calculating how much dowry you can sell. Zhao Yang also laughed exaggeratedly. Xia Ran, you don't actually believe hard work makes a difference, do you? I stepped forward, grabbed Zhou Zihao's wrist, and twisted it forcefully. He cried out in pain on the spot. Lin Wantong, how dare you touch me? I shook him off. You tore up the college entrance exam prediction sheet, not just some scrap paper. Touch her again, and I'll call the police right now. Treat it as school violence. Zhao Yang cursed. Who are you trying to scare? I pulled out my phone, the screen showing a video of Zhou Zihao tearing up papers and verbally abusing Xia Ran. Try it if you don't believe me. They finally fell silent. Xia Ran stood behind me, for the first time not lowering her head. 5. On the day the results were announced, the students of Class 1, Grade 12 brought their parents and reporters to the school. They had informed the media in advance, claiming that their class was likely to achieve a miracle. With everyone scoring over 700 points, the school gate was as lively as a victory celebration. Zhao Yang's father, dressed in a suit, boasted to the camera, my son is usually low-key, not incapable of learning. This time, he's definitely getting into Tsinghua. Zhou Zihao's mother also brought her daughter, Zhou Ziying. Zhou Ziying's face was pale, and there were old scars on her arms. I saw her, walked straight over, and shoved a business card into her hand. This is the contact number for the Women's Federation staff, if your family pressures you to get married again, contact her immediately. Zhou Zihao's mother glared at me. Teacher Lin, aren't you overstepping your bounds? I replied to her, forcing a woman into marriage is illegal. If you want to try it, I can call the police right now. Her face stiffened, and she dared not speak again. Before the big screen lit up, Zhao Yang and the others were still discussing. Later, Tsinghua and Peking University will be competing for talent. Whom should I choose? Whomever offers me the most scholarship. I'll choose. I want Peking University to arrange a Lakeview room for me. I want Tsinghua University to provide me with a car. The students in the next class were laughing uncontrollably. Someone whispered, "Is their class under too much pressure from the college entrance exams? Have they all gone crazy?" The countdown reaches 0, the screen flashes, and the scores appear. Class 1 of grade 12, 39 0 scores: Zhao Yang, 0, Zhou Zihao, 0, Wang Tingting, 0, Wang Xiyu, 0, Xiang Lan, 0. The entire hall fell into dead silence. Immediately after, Xia Ran's score popped up. Xia Ran, 730 points, first in the province, provincial top scorer. Zhao Yang lunged toward the screen. "Impossible, I'm the paper exchange system, how could I get 0 points?" Only after he finished speaking did he realize he had let slip, his face turning pale instantly. Zhou Zihao grabbed Xia Ran's arm, hysterically. "It's you, you deliberately scored 0 to sabotage us." I pushed him away with my hand. "She's 730, you are the ones who scored 0. Zhao Yang's father rushed over and grabbed me by the collar. "Explain this to me, taught by the same teacher. Why is she the top scorer in the province while my son got 0? Other parents also gathered around. "You're definitely being biased. Are you only tutoring Xia Ran? Did you take money from her family?" The reporter's camera was also shoved right in my face. "Mr. Lin, some parents have reported that you've been treating students differently for a long time, resulting in 39 students collectively scoring 0. How do you respond? In my previous life, it was exactly this situation that drove me to a dead end. This life, I won't retreat." I raised my hand and slapped away Zhao Yang's father's hand. "Let go." He was taken aback. I looked at him coldly. "Touch me again, and I'll report you for assaulting a teacher." The scene fell silent. I took out my phone and opened the pre-edited evidence video. In the scene, Zhao Yang says nonchalantly, "It's just a dog, if it dies, it dies, but I have a system to swap exam papers. So I'm definitely getting into Tsinghua." In the next segment, Zhou Zihao slams the table. "My sister is marrying an abusive man next month. So what? Women won't listen unless you hit them." The next paragraph was written by Wang Tingting in a light, casual tone. "My mom has breast cancer and has at most 1 month to live. 1 month of life for an essay prediction. Barely worth it." There were also confessions about mortgaging her father's factory, sacrificing her parents' lifespans, and trading a family car accident for answers. Every sentence was crystal clear. All the parents' faces instantly changed. Zhao Yang's father turned around, staring intently at his son. "What did you say?" Zhao Yang panicked. "Dad, no, let me explain." Slap. A slap sent him tumbling to the ground. Zhou Zihao's sister, Zhou Ziying, finally understood the meaning behind her brother's words. She stood still, tears falling drop by drop. Zhou Zihao wanted to curse at me, but his sister slapped him. "Are you going to trade my life for your points?" Zhou Zihao's mother panicked. "Why are you hitting your brother? He's doing it for his future." Zhou Ziying stared at her, her voice trembling but clear. "From today on, I won't be coming home. If anyone forces me to marry again, I'll call the police." The reporters frantically started filming. Public opinion instantly reversed. Zhao Yang suddenly pointed at me and screamed, "It's her. It was Lin Wantong who made us believe in the system. It was her who let us go home." Before the college entrance exam, all eyes turned to me again. I smiled. "Where's the evidence?" Zhao Yang was left speechless, his mouth agape. I continued, "I have evidence of your cheating. I also have evidence that I have repeatedly warned the system is a trap. You have insulted teachers, attacked classmates, and admitted to sacrificing relatives for points. Evidence of all this has been backed up by the school, police, and education authorities. Want to pass the buck? Fine, bring the evidence." No one spoke. The next second, a system prompt echoed in my mind. Cheating evidence complete. Fair trial conditions met. Enable national live trial. I look at these people who still want to argue and defend themselves and say in my heart, enable. 6. The world suddenly went dark. When it brightened again, I was standing on a judgment platform. Below the platform were 39 cheating students. Opposite them are the people they sacrificed, hurt, and betrayed. The live stream is flooded with bullet comments. "What's going on? A trial for cheating on the college entrance exam. Just came from the trending topics. That female teacher is so cool. 39 0 scores. Is it this group of people?" I strike the gavel. The case of systematic cheating in Class 1, Grade 12, is now in session. The first defendant, Zhao Yang, plaintiff, Golden Retriever Nike. Zhao Yang's face turned pale. "What are you kidding? Can a dog even be a plaintiff?" I looked toward the big screen. "Play evidence." the screen appears. Zhao Yang selects the exchange in front of the system pop-up. Do you wish to exchange the scroll system at the cost of golden-haired Nike's death? He didn't hesitate and clicked, yes. The next second, Nike wagged its tail and sent him out the door, but was hit and thrown into the air by a runaway car on the road. It struggled to crawl toward Zhao Yang. Zhao Yang stood by the roadside, his eyes burning with fervor. Die, hurry up and die, don't interfere with my redemption. The wheels rolled over once more, the barrage exploded. Beast, the dog still wanted to crawl back to its owner, but he actually thought it wasn't dying fast enough. Even a dog is more human than him. On the other side of the trial stand, the golden retriever Nike came back to life. It saw Zhao Yang and still wagged its tail, trying to pounce forward. A 500-meter stretch of thorny railway lies in between. System rules appear. If the victim chooses to forgive, they must walk barefoot across the railway and embrace the defendant. If the defendant chooses to repent, they must voluntarily cross the railway to apologize to the victim. Zhao Yang immediately shouted, Nike, come here, hurry up, aren't you the most obedient? The golden retriever hesitated for a moment. It still walked onto the railway tracks. Thorns pierced its paw pads, and blood dripped all the way. It whimpered in pain but continued walking toward Zhao Yang. The barrage was filled with tears. Don't go, dogs don't understand betrayal, they only know their owner is calling them. Teacher Lin, save it. I raised my hand and halted the train tracks. Nike looked up at me. I asked, are you going to forgive him? It couldn't speak, only wagged its tail gently. Zhao Yang immediately boasted, see, it forgives me, let me go now. I coldly stared at him. It forgives you, because it can only love you. But judgment is not based solely on forgiveness. Defendant Zhao Yang, who traded innocent lives for a cheating system, demonstrated clear malicious intent and showed no remorse. Sentencing, lifetime revocation of all qualifications to change one's fate through examinations, and the rest of his life haunted by the memories of lives he personally took. The gavel falls. Zhao Yang lets out a sharp cry and collapses to the ground. In his ears, the mournful wail of the golden retriever being run over by the car begins to echo, again and again. Never ceasing, bullet comments flood the screen. Well judged, not all forgiveness can offset the crime. The dog loved him, but the law and justice will not indulge him. I gently raised my hand and sent Nike back to a patch of grass. It no longer had to bleed. 7. The second defendant, Zhou Zihao, plaintiff, Zhou Ziying. When Zhou Zihao was dragged to the dock, he remained defiant. My sister should have taken care of me for the rest of her life. What's wrong with marrying an abusive man? Women won't listen unless they're beaten. The big screen displays the scene of him binding the system. Will you exchange the misfortune of your sister Zhou Ziying's marriage for the blessing of the god of exams? He smiles and clicks confirm on the screen. Zhou Ziying is being forced by her parents to attend a blind date. The other party is in his 40s, divorced, and his ex-wife was beaten so badly she ended up in the hospital. Zhou Zihao was eating sunflower seeds nearby. Sis, just bear with it after you marry him. The bride price will buy me a car. Zhou Ziying stood in the plaintiff's seat, her face deathly pale. Her parents were also pulled into the situation. Mother Zhou anxiously said, Ziying, that's your own younger brother, go over and hug him, forgive him, and this matter will be over. Zhou's father also said, girls don't need to read so many books, it's not a loss to get married. Zhou Zihao beckoned her with a gesture, hurry up and come over. Don't make me deny you as my sister in the future. Bullet comments rage, don't go, sister, wake up. Won't forgive. This family eats people without leaving a bone. Zhou Ziying stood there for a long time. I asked her, do you want to know what consequences your forgiveness will bring? She looked up. Want to? I said, you will marry an abusive man, be beaten 17 times in the 3 years after marriage, and finally die from severe injuries. Zhou Ziying trembled all over. Zhou Zihao's face changed. Teacher Lin, stop scaring her. I ignored him and only asked Zhou Ziying, you have a choice. Your life is not a sacrifice for anyone. Zhou's mother rushed forward to push her. Your brother cannot be destroyed. I raised my hand, and a barrier rose outside the thorny railway. During the trial, no one may compel the plaintiff. Zhou Ziying looked at the barrier and suddenly smiled. Her tears fell, but her voice was firm. I will not forgive. From today on, whether Zhou Zihao lives or dies has nothing to do with me. The gavel falls. Defendant Zhou Zihao has not received forgiveness from the victim, and has maliciously sacrificed his closest relatives. Sentencing, a lifetime of misfortune, plagued by bad luck. The next second, the chair beneath Zhou Zihao suddenly broke, and he fell. blood streaming from his head. His mother rushed over to help him, but her foot slipped, knocking into his father. The family descended into chaos. The barrage burst into laughter. Instant karma strikes fast. Sister, run. I turned to look at Zhou Ziying. I have already submitted your real life assistance materials to the relevant departments. After the trial, someone will come to take you away. She cried and bowed to me. Thank you, Teacher Lin. 8. The third defendant, Wang Tingting. The plaintiff is her mother, who has breast cancer. The large screen displays the exchange footage. Would you trade your mother's last month of life for a guaranteed essay topic? Wang Tingting hesitated for only 2 seconds. After all, she only has 1 month left to live. Exchanging that for a perfect essay score is a great deal. Bullet comments instantly flooded with abuse. Wang Tingting knelt on the defendant's stand, sobbing uncontrollably. Mom, I was wrong, but you only had 1 month left anyway, and I still have a lifetime. Please forgive me, Mom. Her mother sat in the plaintiff's seat, so emaciated that she seemed little more than bones. Hearing her daughter cry, her first reaction was still concern. She took off her shoes and tried to walk onto the thorny railway track. I stopped her. If you go over there, you'll die on the spot. Tears welled up in her eyes. I know, but she is my daughter. I asked, did you also teach her to trade your life for essay predictions? The woman froze. I continued, loving a child does not mean taking on all their sins for them. You can love her, and you can also not forgive. Let her take responsibility for her own choices. It's not that you're unworthy of being a mother, it's that she is unworthy of trampling on your life. Wang Tingting grew anxious. Mom, don't listen to her stirring up trouble. Didn't you say you'd be my mom again in the next life? You have to crawl over here if you have to. The mother had already stepped onto the railway tracks. Upon hearing these words, her body froze. She looked at Wang Tingting as if meeting her daughter for the first time. After a long while, she slowly withdrew her foot. Tingting, Mom is tired, this time. You handle it yourself. Wang Tingting screamed in despair. No. You can't do this to me. The gavel falls. The defendant, Wang Tingting, has not been forgiven by the victim. Sentence, lifespan halved, plagued by pain day and night. She collapses to the ground, writhing in agony. Her mother was in tears, but she did not look back again. 9. One after another, the defendants were brought before the court. Someone traded their father's factory for high scores in science. Sentenced to a lifetime of poverty, forever unable to gain wealth through speculation. Someone traded 10 years of their parents' lives for an English answer, sentenced to spend the rest of their life rejected by family, with all desires unfulfilled. Someone traded their aunt's car accident for the final math question, sentenced to encounter accidents at every crucial decision, with no smooth path ever. Wang Siyu's case was the most special. She traded her stunning beauty for double the score. When the trial began, her parents appeared together in the plaintiff's seat. The so-called perfect beauty of the system came at the cost of her parents' complete breakdown, turning them into enemies who hated each other. I thought Wang Siyu would cry and beg them to reconcile, but as soon as they appeared, her parents started arguing. If it weren't for the fear of affecting her college entrance exam, I would have divorced long ago. Do you think I want to hold back? She's an adult now, and I don't want custody. Wang Siyu stood there, her face as pale as paper. She watched them argue until their faces twisted in anger. Then suddenly spoke. Enough. If you want a divorce, then divorce. I'm already 18, I don't need either of you to support me. She looked at me. Teacher Lin, I made a mistake, and I admit it, but their marriage shouldn't be counted on my account. I fell silent for a moment. In my previous life, I never had the chance to hear her say these words. In this life, at least she knew to take responsibility for her part. I struck the gavel. Defendant Wang Siyu, abuse of the system and cheating in the exam are confirmed. Sentencing, disqualification from this year's college entrance examination, ineligible to take the exam for 3 years. The parents' marital relationship has no direct causal link to the cheating behavior. The parent-child bond is severed, and no additional penalties will be imposed. The barrage was filled with sighs. This judgment is reasonable. She was wrong, but she is not the trash can for her parents' marriage. Wang Siyu, with reddened eyes, bowed to me. Thank you, teacher. I looked at her. If you still want to study 3 years from now, rely on yourself to get in. She nodded. 10. The last defendant was Xiang Lan. She was the class study committee member. The family was impoverished, with a paralyzed father, a mother who had left home, and a grandmother supporting the entire household by collecting scrap. She consistently ranked in the top 20 of her grade in every mock exam. If she performed normally, getting into a top-tier university would be no problem at all. but she had bound herself to a score-stealing system. She didn't steal points from academic underachievers like Xiao Yang and Zhou Zihao. She specifically targeted Xia Ran. In the plaintiff's seat, Xia Ran wheeled in Xiang Lan's father's wheelchair. Seeing her father, Xiang Lan's eyes instantly reddened. I asked her, why? You could have taken the exam yourself. Xiang Lan chuckled. Because I envy her. She looked at Xia Ran, her eyes filled with hatred. Both of us are poor students, both trampled by fate into the mud. Why is she always number one? She can live on campus to avoid her parents' entanglements, and you protect her. What about me? Every day after school, I have to bathe my dad, feed him, help him turn over, and also accompany my grandma to collect scrap. My study time is getting less and less, yet she consistently holds the top position. Is this fair? Xia Ran gripped the armrests of the wheelchair tightly. Xiang Lan, I studied hard not to surpass you. I did it to save myself. If you want to save yourself, you should run forward, not drag me down. Xiang Lan's tears fell. But I can't run anymore, I said coldly. Not being able to run is no excuse for stealing someone else's points, nor is it a reason for you to sacrifice your father's 10 years of life. The large screen displayed the exchange interface. Are you sure you want to exchange the score-stealing system at the cost of your father's 10 years of life? Xiang Lan stared at the screen for a long time, then finally clicked, yes. Her father trembled violently in the plaintiff's seat. He slurred his words as he shouted, Lan, admit your mistake. Xiang Lan shook her head, tears streaming down her face. I don't need forgiveness, anyway, I've already lost. Her father slid down from the wheelchair, desperately trying to crawl toward the thorny railway tracks. Xia Ran hurried to support him but was gently pushed away. He still wanted to save his daughter. Xiang Lan broke down. Dad, stop climbing. I hate it when you do this the most. The more you love me, the more I feel I deserve to die. She knelt on the ground and finally burst into tears. I was wrong, Dad, I was wrong. Xia Ran, I'm sorry. Xia Ran looked at her and did not answer immediately. I asked Xia Ran, will you forgive her? Xia Ran shook her head. I do not forgive, but I hope she will still have the chance to live for herself in the future. I nodded. The defendant, Xiang Lan, stole others' academic achievements and sacrificed the lifespan of close relatives, demonstrating clear subjective malice, considering the establishment of remorse and the plaintiff's request to spare their life. Sentence, lifetime ban from participating in the college entrance examination and any selective exams, mandatory engagement in elderly care work for 20 years, and wearing electronic shackles for supervision, if elder abuse or evasion of responsibilities occurs. During the service period, immediate electric shock punishment will be executed. Xiang Lan slumped on the ground, sobbing uncontrollably, unable to speak. Her father looked at her, his eyes filled with pain, but this time, he no longer took the burden for her. 11. After all the cases were heard, I stood up around the judgment bench. The 39 cheaters looked pale with fear. Zhao Yang was still covering his ears. Avoiding the golden retriever's wails, Zhou Zihao was covered in wounds, his chair broken again and again. Wang Tingting collapsed from pain and then regained consciousness. Others also bore the price they had paid for their choices. I struck the final gavel. Upon investigation, it has been confirmed that all 39 defendants from Class 1, Grade 12, used illegal systems to cheat in the college entrance examination. Their intent was malicious, and the evidence is conclusive. The final verdict is hereby rendered. First, the college entrance examination results of the 39 defendants are hereby invalidated. Second, the eligibility to participate in the college entrance examination is permanently revoked. Third, the right to enroll in higher education institutions is revoked for life. 4. All real-world damages caused by system sacrifices shall be compensated and punished in accordance with the judgment results. 5. Submit evidence of system cheating to the Education Department simultaneously, and establish a permanent integrity file. As the words fell, the trial space trembled. 39 people screamed in unison. A black mark appeared on their wrists. It was the brand of a cheater. From then on, they could never turn their fate around by passing any exam. The screen was flooded with bullet comments. Long live fairness. Hardworking people should not have their lives stolen. Teacher Lin is so cool. Xia Ran must get into Tsinghua or Peking University. Before the trial ended, the system asked me, Defendant Lin Wantong, do you wish to retain the Gaokao judge system? I looked at Xia Ran. She stood at the plaintiff's stand, her eyes red, but finally smiling. I said, preserve. As long as there are still people trying to trample fairness by taking shortcuts, there will always be someone who stands up to guard that scale. 12. After the trial, the office and the real world was eerily quiet, the journalist's camera was still on. The students' parents looked deathly pale, 39 students slumped to the ground, each with a black mark now appearing on their wrists. Zhao Yang's father had lost all his earlier arrogance. He stared at his son, his lips trembling for a long time. You killed Nike. Zhao Yang held his head and cried, saying he was wrong, but it was too late. Zhou Xin immediately called the police, accusing her parents and younger brother of forcing her into marriage. Wang Tingting's mother was taken away by the hospital, and subsequent medical expenses were covered by social assistance funds. Wang Xiyu signed a parental relationship termination agreement and applied for work-study programs on her own. When Xiang Lan was taken away by the supervisors, she glanced back at Xia Ran. Xia Ran didn't glare at her with hatred, nor did she say she forgave her. She simply calmly turned her gaze away. That was enough. Xia Ran's status as the top scorer in the province was quickly confirmed by the authorities. The admissions team from Tsinghua and Peking University arrived at the school on the same day, wearing her faded school uniform. She sat in the meeting room, crying as she signed the admission intent form. After signing, she hugged me tightly. Teacher Lin, I can really walk out now. I patted her back. You can, you walked out on your own. The principal stood beside me, hesitating to speak. Finally, he whispered to me, Teacher Lin, in your previous life, were you in a lot of pain? I was stunned. He looked toward the stairs, his eyes reddened. In the trial live stream, I saw it. I'm sorry. I remained silent for a moment. Apologies are useless. If any student in the school is bullied, coerced, or wronged in the future, don't be afraid to make a scene. The principal nodded solemnly. I remember. 13. A month later, the college entrance exam cheating incident was included in the National Integrity Education case studies. The names of the 39 students from Class 1, Grade 12 were permanently placed on the Education Integrity Blacklist. They once believed they were the chosen ones, but in the end, they couldn't even find their way back to the path of ordinary people. Xia Ran successfully received her admission letter from Tsinghua University. On the day she left school, she carried an old backpack containing the materials I had organized for her, along with a few changes of clothes. Her parents came to the school gate and made a scene once. The police car arrived very quickly. They never dared to show up again. Zhou Xin also left her biological family and went to work elsewhere. Before leaving, she sent me a message. Teacher Lin, I finally don't have to marry that man. Thank you for letting me know that not forgiving is also a way to live. I looked at those words and smiled for a long time. Later, a reporter asked me, Teacher Lin, what do you think is the most important significance of the college entrance exam? I thought for a moment and said, it's not about making everyone successful, rather, it's about ensuring that every ounce of effort has a fair chance to be weighed. Some are born in high rises, while others are trapped in the mud, but at least before the answer sheet, they should all speak with their own pens. Off camera, Xia Ran waved to me. Sunlight fell upon her, bright and pure. I suddenly remembered how she cried out my name before her death in my previous life. At that time, I thought everything was over, but fortunately, fate gave me a chance to start over. In this life, I did not die again in their slander, nor did I let Xia Ran die in the stolen life. The college entrance examination must be fair. When fairness is desecrated, someone must become the guardian of justice, and I, Lin Wantong, am that judge. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. The first thing I did after being reborn was to refuse the $300,000 living allowance from my parents and instead take out a massive online loan, all because, in my past life, my roommate had bound a system that could swap any money I received with hers. No matter how much I asked my family to transfer, my account balance would always show only $300. Meanwhile, she used my money to become the glamorous campus belle, dated the school heartthrob, and even turned the tables by claiming I was the malicious poor student she had been supporting. I angrily opened the transfer records my parents had sent me, wanting to prove my point, only to be shocked that all the amounts had changed to 300. Meanwhile, my roommate pitifully held up her phone. Look, my parents send me 300,000 every month. I don't understand why Josephine refuses to face reality. I was bombarded with overwhelming attacks and insults. Every relative who came forward to testify for me met with misfortune and died tragically, and my own health rapidly deteriorated. In the end, the campus heartthrob, seeking revenge for his roommate, had me dragged into a small grove where I was tortured to death. When I opened my eyes again, I had been reborn. This time, I'll see just how long my roommate, burdened with massive online loans, can keep up the act. Josephine, you're truly disgusting. Turns out all your designer clothes came from handouts. Even Miss Freya doesn't flaunt her wealth like you do, living off charity yet spending so extravagantly. It's outrageous. Only someone as kind-hearted as Miss Freya would tolerate you, otherwise you'd have been kicked out long ago. Stop playing dead and speak, get on your knees and apologize to Miss Freya right now, or don't blame us for what happens next. As the stream of curses continued ringing in my ears, I felt a momentary daze before realizing I had truly been reborn, back to the day when my roommate Freya impersonated a wealthy heiress through the system, labeling me as the impoverished student she was sponsoring. Now, seeing that I hadn't spoken up for a while, Freya stepped forward and spoke up with understanding. Josephine, you wouldn't possibly claim that all this money was given to you by your parents, and that you're actually the daughter of a wealthy family, would you? If so, why don't you show us your balance and let everyone see for themselves, or better yet, have your parents transfer you a few $100,000 right now? That way, none of us would have anything left to say. In my past life, I fell right into the trap. Staring at the $300 balance in my card, I couldn't believe my eyes. And frantically asked my parents to transfer money to me, eager to prove myself. I never imagined I'd end up elevating her instead, helping her amass a fortune and solidify her status as a wealthy heiress, and all the money my parents sent me, the moment I raised my phone, transformed into mere transfers of a few $dozen at most. In an instant, I became the target of public scorn. Everyone condemned me as vain and selfish, accusing me of exploiting my impoverished parents for personal gain. I was pondering how to fight against this system when Nathan, the school heartthrob who had been silent all along, suddenly spoke up. Josephine, even now you still refuse to admit your mistakes. Someone as vain and selfish as you doesn't deserve Freya's help. Just thinking about how you shamelessly chased after me before makes me sick. His brows furrowed in disgust as he stepped forward and shoved me to the ground with force. Yet during military training, it was him who approached me first, complimenting how beautiful the necklace around my neck was and saying he wanted to borrow it to buy one like it for his mother. And now, he shoved me hard to the ground, my shoulder aching fiercely, while the crowd around us erupted, cheering and shouting, "Way to go, Nathan." Freya grew even more aggressive. She bit her lip, looking at me with tearful eyes, showing no intention of helping me up. Josephine, I never thought it would come to this. As roommates, all you had to do was admit your mistake, and I wouldn't have pushed it, but why must you stubbornly twist the truth? Did I ever say I'd stubbornly deny it? I gritted my teeth and struggled to my feet, forcing out a smile. I'm sorry, Miss Freya, it was indeed my vanity that made me spend the money you gave me on these things. As punishment, I'll donate them to charity for resale. I hope you won't hold it against me, Miss Freya, and that you'll continue to support me in the future. The classmates, who had been ready with a barrage of words, were left speechless, exchanging uncertain glances, unsure of what to say. Freya was also stunned, her eyes flickering for a moment. Josephine, there's no need for this. If you really want to admit your mistake, it would be better to sell it first and then donate the money directly. What if those people damage it? It's fine, I trust the professionals. If I sell it first, would I even have money left to donate? Wouldn't the money just end up in her hands? I turned around, my expression completely cold, logged into a lending platform, and attempted to apply for a $100 online loan. As expected, the money didn't reach my card after the process was completed. When I re-entered the page, I found that the borrower listed was actually Freya. Sure enough, the system had thoroughly swapped everything, even changing the source of the funds. I could hardly keep from laughing out loud. Freya, your nightmare is about to come. I borrowed $600,000 in online loans all at once, then I called to refuse my parents sending me living expenses, applied for off-campus accommodation, and used only what was readily available for all expenses. But even so, my chest still feels tight, and the effects the system has on my body remain. At noon, as I walked out of the school gate carrying my small bag, I saw Freya and Nathan waiting by the roadside for a ride, followed by many classmates. Everyone noticed me, their faces filled with mocking expressions. Josephine, Freya called my name loudly and ran toward me, her face beaming with joy. What a coincidence, I was just talking about you. After some thought, I realized it's better to teach a man to fish than to give him a fish. I've decided to stop giving you financial support and instead help you find part-time work. It must be said, money really does nurture a person. Nowadays, Freya is decked out in designer brands from head to toe, and the insecurity and sensitivity in her eyes have completely vanished. It's hard to connect her with the girl who could only afford a single plate of shredded potatoes for a meal in the past. I'm really curious. What kind of methods did she use to bind me like this? She pulled out a stack of flyers and shoved them into my hands, looking at me with earnest concern. These are all high-paying jobs I've specially selected for you. Once you earn money through your own efforts and donate it, people will stop disliking you. My eyes are strained from finding these opportunities. Coincidentally, I was planning to treat our classmates to a 5-star hotel meal. This time, it'll be your treat. I've never seen someone so shameless, using the money my parents sent me while expecting me to take on part-time jobs to keep supporting her. What the hell is written on these flyers? There are even ads for selling eggs. At this moment, Nathan and his classmates also walked over. The students spoke up disdainfully. Josephine, what are you still standing around for? Some of these part-time jobs are about to close registration. Hurry up, they won't wait for you. Just now, Freya's parents sent her another $600,000. That's more than your parents could earn in a lifetime, even if they didn't eat or drink. How can you, a scholarship student, afford to just stand here doing nothing? A gleaming Rolex had mysteriously appeared on Nathan's wrist, estimated to be worth hundreds of thousands. Clearly chosen by a woman. I couldn't help but sneer. Freya really spared no expense when pursuing a guy. No wonder she was so desperate to get money from me. As a student, I think my priority should be focusing on my studies, I said with a smile. From now on, I plan to limit my monthly living expenses to just $300. Not a penny more. I welcome everyone to hold me accountable. I turned to leave, but someone suddenly grabbed my arm. Is this the attitude a poor student should have when speaking to your young lady? Nathan shook me off with disgust. As if he had touched something filthy, Freya went out of her way to find these part-time jobs for you. How dare you refuse? Do you really enjoy being a parasite? His icy gaze overlapped with the look he gave when watching others torment me in my past life, and I instinctively held my breath, and he had already flung me forcefully to the ground, pulling Freya away as he turned to leave. A thought suddenly rose in my mind. It seemed that Nathan wasn't just treating me this way to please Freya. He genuinely seemed to hate me. It took a long time before my family's driver finally arrived to pick me up in the Rolls-Royce. By then, I was already drenched in sweat from the heat. He parked the car unhurriedly and only then honked twice to signal me over. Uncle Bob, why are you so slow? I was almost passing out from heatstroke, and my back was already soaked with sweat by the time I got in the car. Clearly in a good mood, he put on a stern face when he heard this and said, "Let me tell you, you really need to change that spoiled princess attitude of yours. I'm your family's driver, not your servant. I'm practically your elder. How can you talk to me like this? It's just standing for a while. No other girl is as delicate as you. I wouldn't allow my son to date someone like you." At that moment, I was looking at the social media posts my classmates had shared. OMG, Nathan's family is so loaded. They even let us ride in a Rolls-Royce. So this is what a Starlight headliner looks like. Wow, so impressive. Just wish there was one more car next time. I want a Maybach. If we hadn't wasted time teaching that shameless poor student a lesson, we'd be chilling in the luxury car by now. I froze. Wasn't that my family's car? I immediately had someone check and found out that Uncle Bob's son was actually Nathan. Everything makes sense now. No wonder in my past life, no matter how hard I tried to prove my identity, there was always a mole leaking information. No wonder Nathan was so eager to put me to death. I'm afraid everything was a coordinated effort between him and Freya. My hands slowly reached for the necklace that Nathan had borrowed during military training. It seems that was when Freya, originally a poor student, suddenly became incredibly wealthy. Unfortunately, at the time, I used my meal card every day and didn't pay much attention to my balance, which gave her the opportunity. Miss Josephine, what are you trying to do? With a sudden break, Uncle Bob looked at me through the rearview mirror with lingering fear. His gaze falling on my hand about to remove the necklace, he exclaimed in panic, "This is the coming-of-age gift from the madam. You're not going to take it off, are you?" Looking at him like this, all the answers became obvious. Of course not. I'll just touch it. I laughed and simply closed my eyes. Hearing the man in the driver's seat let out a sigh of relief. Back at the villa, I immediately took off the necklace and called my dad to tell him that Uncle Bob was being inappropriate and to fire him, then enjoyed a meal prepared by a French chef. And after eating and drinking to my heart's content, I lay down on the bed. Indeed, after removing this necklace, I felt the pressure in my chest ease, as if a heavy stone had suddenly been lifted from me. To avoid alerting anyone, I rummaged through the cabinet and put on an identical one around my neck. So now, Freya, All you have left is that massive 600,000 online loan during the afternoon PE class, after running 800 meters. All the students were exhausted and collapsed on the grass, unable to move, their faces flushed red. I was also drenched in sweat, panting heavily from exhaustion. Freya suddenly called out to me, "Josephine." She put on the airs of a young lady and ordered me, "We're all tired, go buy everyone a bottle of water. It's just outside the school gate, thanks for your trouble, and come back as soon as possible." She had calculated it perfectly. I had already visited the school clinic 3 times recently due to health issues, so that $300 must have been nearly spent. Now that I didn't have enough money, I naturally had to ask my parents to transfer me some, so she could sit back and reap the benefits while also gaining goodwill. But now, after deactivating the system, I didn't indulge her at all and said coldly, "You make it sound so easy. There are 80 people here. Why don't you go yourself?" Freya bit her lip and looked at me with a troubled expression. "Josephine, I just wanted to give you a chance to mend your relationships with your classmates. I transferred so much money to you before, you couldn't have spent it all, right? Since you're free now, why not go buy water for everyone? Consider it a contribution to the group." A subtle glint flickered in her eyes. "If you're really out of money, just ask your parents for some. They're supposed to support you." After all, the surrounding classmates, sweltering in the heat, erupted in anger. "Freya treated us all to a 5-star restaurant at noon. See how generous she is. How can there be such a big difference in the same dorm? All you know is taking advantage. Huh? You dare disobey Miss Freya's orders? You must be tired of living. How can there be someone like you who doesn't know their place? Being poor is one thing, but you're so stingy too. Is a few $dozen going to kill you?" My legs are about to break from exhaustion. "Go get me a bottle of Mizone now." I looked at these greedy, selfish fair-weather friends and sneered, "You really have the nerve, acting like you're the only ones who are tired, so I'm just supposed to be at your beck and call." Suddenly, hurried footsteps sounded from behind. "Josephine, you bitch." Nathan stormed over, furious. He was seething over his father's dismissal but couldn't confront me directly about it. He had previously attacked me several times without facing any consequences, and now he's accustomed to publicly reprimanding me. He raised his hand to slap me, but I dodged it directly. "Oh, isn't this the rich kid whose family owns a Rolls-Royce? Why are you trying to hit me right away? Did I do something to offend you?" I asked with an innocent look, not forgetting to steer the narrative. "It's so hot right now, just me going to buy water won't be enough. Why don't you, young Master Nathan, and Miss Freya call a few luxury cars over to take everyone for a ride to cool off?" As soon as these words were spoken, the classmates indeed got excited, all clamoring to ride in the luxury cars. Except for those 2 whose expressions turned extremely ugly. I said leisurely, "What are you waiting for, young Master Nathan? You're not pretending to be rich like me, are you?" These words undoubtedly struck a nerve with Nathan, and he immediately pointed at my nose and started cursing. "Open your damn eyes and see. A single pair of my shoes costs tens of thousands, this watch is over 400K, and even this t-shirt is more than 8,000. Who the hell are you to bark at me? Does everything you own even add up to $100? What gives you the right to question me? Am I right, everyone?" At that moment, the surrounding classmates were practically melting from the heat and had no patience for his bragging, just urging impatiently, "If that's the case, young Master Nathan, why don't you call a few more cars? We didn't get enough rides at noon." Exactly, at noon, we were all crammed into one car. It was such a bad experience. Plus, we had to listen to you and Miss Freya flirting the whole way. "You 2 definitely owe us some proper compensation. Miss Freya, why don't you call the cab?" Then, Freya could see these people were clearly a bottomless pit. Their demands would only keep growing. She certainly wasn't going to agree to pay for them again. "I can't take it anymore. I feel so dizzy. I think I'm getting heatstroke." Freya suddenly staggered 2 steps, pretending to faint as she collapsed to the ground, only to be scooped up by Nathan, who then dashed outside with her, using the excuse of going to the restroom. I secretly followed behind them. In the infirmary, Freya was sweating profusely under the fan, while Nathan sat beside her, peeling an apple. "What the hell is wrong with this bitch? Has she figured something out? She absolutely refuses to ask her family for living expenses, and she won't even take on a part-time job when I suggest it." Freya grew more frightened the more she thought about it and sat straight up in bed. She must have realized something was wrong. It was strange enough that she suddenly moved out of the dorm, but now it seems she figured out that all the money she received would be transferred away by me. so she decided to take nothing and just use what was already available. Nathan narrowed his eyes, handed her the apple, and a cold smile crept across his face. Even if she did notice something, what could she do? Don't forget, the system will make her health deteriorate more and more. Her parents are always abroad, and once she collapses and ends up in the hospital, we'll have her parents transfer the medical fees, and the money will still end up in our hands. I just can't stand people who are born lucky. Why is she a rich heiress while I'm just the son of her family's driver? She won't get to live so comfortably. From that day on, Freya and Nathan simply started living together off campus. Their social media feeds were filled daily with posts showcasing mansions, luxury goods, and extravagant parties, so lavish it would make anyone's jaw drop. They even celebrated an anniversary every 3 days, complete with performances by professional violinists. Freya happily captioned, "I never imagined such perfect love would come my way, waking up to fruits airlifted from New Zealand every day. When I get tired from watching dramas, he takes me to 5-star restaurants to nourish me. He's so thoughtful, the slightest frown from me, and he showers me with LV and Hermes gifts. I'm basking in happiness every day." Nathan also left a heartfelt comment below. "The moment I met you, the whole world faded into insignificance. I will protect you forever, my princess." The huge classroom erupted as students saw all this. Holy shit, this is next level. I've only seen this kind of powerful alliance between elite second-generation heirs in TV dramas and novels. I'm crying with envy. This is literally the perfect romance between a novel's male and female leads. Truly, true love only blossoms in extremely wealthy families. Please let me live this kind of life in my next reincarnation. I want to experience this effortless existence too. Of course, some people couldn't resist dragging me out to take the blame. LMAO, Josephine must be green with envy seeing this. No matter how hard he tried to chase the Nathan family's fortune before, he never caught up. Oh please, people end up with their own kind for a reason. Freya is a rich heiress. She deserves gifts worth hundreds of thousands or millions. Meanwhile, Josephine probably cries tears of gratitude over a $10 bracelet. Someone that low class would never catch Nathan's eye. Ha ha ha, Josephine's gonna want to jump off a building. After hearing this, the guy she desperately simped for just publicly humiliated her by getting with his social equal. A single casually flaunted gift from them would be something she could never afford in her lifetime. I listened to all this without a flicker of change in my expression, because just moments ago, my parents abroad, feeling guilty for neglecting me, bought me 5 more villas to stay in wherever I please during summer vacation. With such wealth at my disposal, how could I possibly be the slightest bit affected by such petty voices around me? Moreover, these two are about to have their good times come to an end. Finally, the debt collectors came knocking, demanding Freya repay the loan of $1.2 million with interest within 3 days. She was in the middle of playing bedroom games with Nathan when she received the text message. Stunned, she couldn't believe her eyes. Yet, the debt collection calls kept pouring in one after another, even reaching her parents, who asked her what was going on. What's going on? When did I ever take out an online loan? Are you sure you've got the right person? However, the other party directly sent over her ID card and the transfer information for that $600,000. Freya, we know your school and home address, as well as information about your friends and family. Just return the money honestly, and nothing will happen otherwise. Don't blame us for ruining you. People should always pay for their early indulgences, shouldn't they? I was getting a spa at the villa when Freya called, and it was almost 11 p.m., time for me to sleep. I answered the phone as soon as I heard it ring, and the sharp scream on the other end nearly pierced my eardrum. Josephine, are you fucking insane? How dare you take out a $600,000 online loan? Are you trying to get yourself killed? I picked at my ear with one hand, almost laughing out loud. As expected from the online lending platform I carefully chose, it must have driven Freya completely mad by now. What online loan? I don't understand what you're talking about, and even if I did take one out, it's none of your business. Why are you so worked up? I said coolly before hanging up the phone without hesitation. The next morning at 8, I entered the classroom as usual and found a seat to sit down. As soon as I sat down, the girl next to me suddenly let out a scream, looking disgusted as she quickly gathered her things and stood up. Get away from me, you're disgusting, she shouted loudly, grabbing her backpack and swiftly moving to a seat in the back. The drowsiness of not being fully awake instantly dissipated, and various murmurs began to rise around. Indeed, when people are poor to a certain extent, they resort to crooked paths. Who would have thought she could do such a thing? It's utterly disgusting. She's a disgrace to our college. The principal should expel her immediately and not let her ruin the campus atmosphere any further. Her parents must be heartbroken. After all their efforts to raise their daughter, she ends up doing something like this, throwing away her dignity for money. No wonder Nathan hates her so much. He probably knew she was being kept by someone long ago. I heard this last sentence crystal clear and immediately slammed the table, standing up. What the hell are you talking about? If you've got the guts, say it to my face. The moment I finished speaking, a phone was thrown right in front of me. Josephine, you brought this shame upon yourself by refusing to save face when given the chance. We've already shown you considerable restraint by not pointing fingers directly at you. This humiliation is entirely of your own making. I looked at my phone screen, and the first thing that caught my eye was the word, explosive, on a campus forum post. Rumor, a financially struggling student at our school allegedly becomes a sugar baby, willingly acting as a mistress for an older man to live in a luxury mansion. The accompanying images were multiple photos of me entering my family's villa and stepping out of a luxury car. Every photo cunningly blurred half of my face, but anyone with eyes can still recognize it's me. Post content: there's a financially struggling student at our school who's been living off her roommate's support, yet she spends extravagantly, exploiting others' kindness for luxury consumption. After being exposed, her roommate withdrew the support, holding a grudge. She actually hooked up with an older man to earn money through her body, then turned around to verbally abuse and attack her former roommate out of deliberate revenge. Utterly appalling. Since last night, the comments section has already piled up hundreds of replies. Holy shit, isn't this the perfect real-life version of The Farmer and the Viper? Some people will resent you if you help them once but not for a lifetime. This is so disgusting. Why does the girl in the photo look so familiar? She looks like Josephine from our department, and the details all match up. No wonder she dresses up so prim and proper every day. Turns out she's being kept. She really treats finding a man as her second chance at life. Damn, I hope she drops dead soon. I've always disliked her. If I ever see someone like her ruining the school's reputation, I'll make sure she meets the king of hell. Tisk tsk. This is what female college students are like nowadays. Can't blame them. The allure of a luxury mansion is too strong. They don't even mind the old man's musty smell. How filthy. I slammed my hand on the table and said sternly, these are nothing but slanderous lies. I'll call the police right now to clear my name. As I was about to dial the emergency number, Freya stepped forward and stopped me. Josephine, we all know you're a financially struggling student, yet these photos clearly show you living in a luxury house and riding in expensive cars. Don't you have anything to explain to everyone? We're just raising reasonable doubts. If we've wronged you, just prove yourself. We're all classmates. No need to escalate things like this, even calling the police. Right now, just looking at her face makes me want to tear it apart. I didn't steal or rob anything. Why should I explain myself to you? Who do you think you are? Nathan also stepped forward, still looking at me with that same disdainful and contemptuous expression. Josephine, you really need to reflect on yourself. Why is it that I just can't stand you? Someone as selfish, low class, and uncultured as you makes me sick just looking at you. Why don't you take a whiff of the stench of poverty you reek from head to toe? What else could you be but a kept woman? If you've got the guts, show us your bank balance to prove it. I'll prove your damn uncle. I immediately grabbed a stack of books and hurled them at him with full force. I understand that they are now completely desperate and must resort to such means to force me to prove my identity, and if I do prove my identity, it will inevitably require my parents to transfer money to me, thereby resolving their crisis. Watching Nathan's expression suddenly turn cold, I clapped my hands and said with a smile, since things have come to this point, I won't hide it from everyone any longer. I will now prove my true identity to all of you. I picked up my phone and called my dad. Hey Dad, I need some money for something. Can you transfer me 30 million? Yeah, I'm fine. Love you, Dad. The classmates around me burst out laughing when they heard this. No way, Josephine, are you out of your mind? Do you even understand what 30 million means? You've read too many novels, thinking you're some kind of domineering CEO's family. Don't tell me you called that old man, laughing my head off at 30 million, selling you to northern Myanmar to harvest your kidneys and eyes wouldn't even fetch $1 million. Only Freya, standing to the side, widened her eyes in extreme excitement, her shoulders trembling uncontrollably. She clutched her phone tightly, wishing she could shove her head right into the screen, but the sudden wealth she had anticipated didn't come. Instead, a chorus of shocked exclamations erupted from the classmates gathered around me. 1 2 3 4 5, that's a full 7 zeros. am I seeing this right? Oh my God, I'm gonna faint. I've never seen so much money in my life. No way, Josephine, are you serious? Are you really from a wealthy family, but why didn't you admit it before? Meanwhile, on the other side, Freya stood frozen like a statue, her pupils trembling as she stared at her phone. Nathan only needed one glance before he frantically pushed forward and snatched my phone from my hands. When he saw the glaring balance of 30 million on the screen, he was instantly stunned, taking 2 disbelieving steps back and grabbing the table for support. My name is Josephine, and my father is David Smith. You can look it up online to see how many companies are under his name. Or call his company to verify my identity. This amount of money means nothing to our song group. I deliberately hid my identity earlier to avoid unnecessary trouble, but I didn't expect it to cause such a big misunderstanding, I said with a smile, stepping closer to Freya and staring intently into her eyes. Now it's your turn, my dear roommate. Didn't you keep claiming to be a wealthy heiress? Then, show us your balance and transfer records. Only then did she react, abruptly turning away in a fluster to stuff her phone into her pocket, but her movements were too exaggerated, and the phone still slipped to the ground, just as a guy rushed over to pick it up. Holy shit, Freya, why is this a debt collection message? Did you take out an online loan? The guy shouted at the top of his lungs as if he had discovered a new continent. No way, a $600,000 online loan, Freya. So everything before was just an act. You're actually the gold-digging, materialistic poor student. The classmates instantly erupted, all rushing over despite attempts to stop them to check her phone. What they saw was shocking: messages from Freya's parents complaining to her and urging her to work part-time to pay her younger brother's tuition fees were also exposed. Her parents only gave her $300 per month for living expenses, never failing to remind her, "Isn't your roommate Josephine quite wealthy? Get close to her and ask for her help. Borrow some money from her. I heard there are many rich people in college. You must keep an eye out and date a wealthy guy early. Don't wait too long or they'll all be taken. You wretched girl, what the hell have you done outside? Debt collectors are coming to our house. You're nothing but trouble. How dare you take out $600,000 in online loans? Why don't you just die, you worthless bitch? I never should have given birth to you. Not only are you useless, but you're also draining the family's money. If you're broke, go sell yourself. Plenty of old men are looking for girls your age. We're too scared to even leave the house now. Hurry up and go. I'm telling you, your brother is the only heir of our family. If you mistreat him, I'll skin you alive. You were born just to serve your brother." Freya completely broke down. She let out a heart-wrenching scream and ran toward the door, her entire being descending into a terrifying, mindless state. Finally realizing the system had failed, Nathan closed his eyes in humiliation and walked toward me. "Josephine, I have to admit, you've finally won. I never imagined you could go this far just to have me. Aren't you just jealous that Freya is with me, and you can't be? Fine, as long as you transfer these 30 million to me, I'm willing to give you a chance." The surrounding noise gradually faded, and a complicated expression appeared on my face. "After all this, Nathan still thinks I like him. I admit that during military training, we had a great conversation, and it's hard not to be attracted to that face, no matter how perfect the appearance. It cannot conceal a heart filled with greed and sin. Compared to the hatred I feel for him now, the fleeting attraction I once had is utterly insignificant." "Enough, what are you standing there for? My patience is limited." Nathan approached me coldly, lowering his head and his voice. "Not only that, but do you know the driver you once fired was my father? Go apologize to him immediately. Then promote him to manager at your company, and I might forgive you. Josephine, I'm warning you, even if I stay with you, don't think for a second I'll do anything for you. My dignity won't be insulted by your pathetic money." He spoke with impassioned fervor, moved by his own words. At this moment, he probably saw himself as a hero sacrificing for love and family in his own mind. I raised my hand and slapped him hard across the face, sending his head jerking to the side. "Nathan, what kind of rotten cucumber do you think you are to make me settle for you? Even saying a single word to you makes me sick. Get lost." Under my secret instructions, the debt collectors found their residential address. The moment the door opened, faced with so many burly men with tattooed arms, Freya was so frightened that she fainted on the spot, and Nathan was dragged into their car. No one knew what they did to him. The next time I heard about them was when Freya's parents, in order to repay the debt, accepted a bride price and sold her to an old bachelor to be his wife. Nathan was directly beaten and had his legs broken by debt collectors before being sold to northern Myanmar, where he began living a life devoid of sunlight. Upon learning this, I was enjoying pastries made by a French chef while watching a movie in the starlit theater of my villa. Every gift bestowed by fate has its price secretly marked in advance, and the greedy will inevitably pay for their actions. After hearing the second story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. After returning from studying abroad, my sister became a staunch anti-abortion advocate, yet, she unexpectedly became pregnant, suffered severe morning sickness, and nearly died from shock. To ensure my sister married into a wealthy family, my mother planned to pin the pregnancy on a young master of the household, concerned for her health. I advised her to terminate the pregnancy. Later, my sister came to my hospital for the procedure. Although she successfully married into the wealthy family, she was never able to conceive again. On their 10th wedding anniversary, her husband brought home his mistress and illegitimate child. My mother, however, accused me of being jealous of my sister's good marriage and deliberately destroying her uterus. From that day on, my sister harbored a deep resentment toward me. One day, while I was resting, she injected me with a high concentration of potassium chloride. When I opened my eyes again, she was asking me if I wanted to terminate the pregnancy. I smiled faintly. An embryo is also a life. Your uterus is your decision. At a community gathering, my sister wore a white dress and was sharing her experiences of studying abroad with the uncles and aunts in the neighborhood, from IELTS exams to how to win over professors. But then, she abruptly shifted the topic and began promoting anti-abortion knowledge. Abortion is the murder of one's children, leading to discord between husband and wife, and the collapse of the family. A woman's womb should not become a slaughterhouse. The harm of one abortion is equivalent to 10 normal childbirths. Foreign experiments show that women who have had abortions and then give birth again not only have lower intelligence and weaker physiques but also unstable emotions. For the happiness of the family, everyone must cherish every child. Most of the aunts in the audience were over 50 years old and strongly agreed with her sister's viewpoint. Just as she was about to continue speaking, she suddenly clutched her stomach and began to feel nauseous and retch. After being rushed to the hospital, a check revealed that she was 2 months pregnant. Her mother was so furious that she slapped her across the face and demanded to know whose child it was. Do you know how much money I spent and how much effort I put in to arrange a matchmaking opportunity for you with the richest family? How could you be pregnant? Mimi Xiangqing kept crying. I don't know. I really don't know. I just slept at a class reunion overnight. Mother thought she was lying, but I could tell she genuinely didn't know. The overseas study circle was already chaotic, with group chats often spanning hundreds of pages. It wasn't entirely impossible that Mimi truly didn't know who the father of the child was, but over the next few days, Mimi suffered severe morning sickness, almost vomiting out her insides. The smell of rust made her vomit, the smell of food made her vomit, and the smell of sweat made her vomit so violently it felt like the heavens were falling. In the midst of such extreme suffering, she no longer mentioned her anti-abortion stance and even began to waver about whether to terminate the pregnancy. However, Mom was shrewd and planned to get it all done in one go. Anyway, it's still early, so no one will notice. I've already arranged everything with the restaurant for the blind date. There's a private room upstairs. After dinner, you can rest, and in a few months, you'll be a wealthy wife, able to give your child a better life. Why not take this opportunity? Xiang Qing was extremely tempted by the idea, but thinking about the hardships of pregnancy, she hesitated. Finally, she turned her gaze toward me. Sister, should I keep this child or not? The same question she had asked me in my previous life as well. Back then, as a gynecologist, I was heartbroken seeing her suffer from severe morning sickness, almost to the point of fainting. Considering her health, I advised her to terminate the pregnancy. Although my sister eventually married into a wealthy family, she remained childless for years, anxious like an ant on a hot pan. Every time this happened, my mother would chime in with a cold remark. If only you had listened to me, you would already have a house full of children and sit firmly on your throne as a wealthy matron. On their 10th wedding anniversary, my brother-in-law brought home a 9-year-old illegitimate child and complained about my sister's inability to conceive. I kindly took in my sister when she was kicked out of the house, but she stole potassium chloride from my hospital and injected it all into my body while I was resting. My mother helped dispose of the syringe and drugs, and declared my sudden death to the outside world. Thinking of this, I snapped out of my daze and calmly replied, the embryo is also a life, and your womb is your decision. I'm eager to see if, with this child, her life of luxury can be happy and enduring. In the end, my sister decided to keep the child. With a wave of her hand, my mother instructed me to take care of my sister's daily needs, hoping to alleviate her morning sickness. I rolled my eyes inwardly. Even Nobel Prize winners couldn't accomplish such a feat, yet here she was, expecting it of me, a gynecologist. In my previous life, I took meticulous care of her during her pregnancy, but what was the result? She turned around and accused me of performing abortions on patients, killing countless babies, and affecting her karma. I couldn't hold back and retorted, "Didn't you have an abortion too?" My sister, as if pricked at a sore spot, immediately retorted, "I did it for the sake of my health, out of necessity. You, on the other hand, actively kill people, and in the afterlife, you'll be frying in hell's oil pots." Double standards laid bare. "This time, I won't do anything so thankless," I said. "Mom, taking care of you is definitely no problem, but over the years, I've performed many abortions. Coming near you, wouldn't that affect the karma of the child in your womb?" Hearing that I've performed abortions over the years, my sister's anti-abortion instincts were once again triggered. Pointing at me, she said, "Abortion is murder. Seong-yu, stay away from me. I am a leader in humanitarian care, and I cannot live together with a woman who takes lives like you." Mother couldn't resist her younger sister's pleading and had to take care of her herself, but she was completely exhausted. Within 3 days, without Seong-ching as a burden, I was actually quite at ease. Half a month later, a few colleagues from the department gathered for a meal. As soon as I sat down, the new intern excitedly pointed to the window and said, "Look, there's a beautiful woman on a blind date, and she looks just like Teacher Seong." I turned my head and saw it was Seong-ching. Of course, sisters would look alike, but I didn't say anything, only reminding, "Xiao Lu, don't disturb others on their blind date." Without my care, Seong-ching's complexion was pale, her skin sagged, her face was swollen, and her looks had taken a significant hit. Added to her severe morning sickness, she had to run to the bathroom every 5 minutes, leaving the young master of the wealthy Zhao family, Zhao Tianzi, utterly speechless. During the meal, I overheard Zhao Tianzi making a phone call home. "It's not good looking at all. Her whole face is swollen bigger than a steamed bun, and her complexion is as bad as a sick person's." Yes, I did ask for no makeup, but it can't be this ugly, right? Alright, I'll head back after I finish eating. We'll talk about the blind date later. After coming out of the bathroom for the 4th time, Zhao Tianzi finally lost his patience and covered his nose. "Why do you smell so sour?" Seong-ching was extremely guilty. "Really, someone threw up in the bathroom. Maybe I accidentally got some on me." Zhao Tianzi didn't care who had thrown up, he just found it affecting his appetite. "Alright, that's enough for today's blind date. You're not my type." I sighed to myself after hearing this. In my previous life, with my care, using the best medicines and replenishing the most expensive qi and blood, Seong-ching recovered well and had abundant qi and blood. After makeup and dressing up, she directly captivated Zhao Tianzi in the photo, smoothly marrying into a wealthy family. This time, without my care, Seong-ching's proud looks were greatly diminished. Fortunately, my mother had a backup plan. I saw Seong-ching lift her wine glass, and after a single drink, the man's face turned red, seeing everyone as a celestial beauty. Soon, the two of them, arm in arm, headed towards the upstairs private room. The entire process was clearly visible from our table. Xiao Lu even exclaimed, "This isn't a blind date, this is like riding a rocket." I smiled faintly and shook my head. This speed is exactly what we wanted. A month later, my mother called to share the good news, informing me that my sister was about to marry into a wealthy family. However, her main purpose for calling was to ask me to falsify medical documents, to casually issue a certificate, reduce the baby's gestational age, and ideally obtain a gender identification report stating that my sister was carrying a boy. I almost laughed in anger. Not only is privately identifying the fetus's gender illegal, but even tampering with the gestational age could cost me my job. Yet, all my mother cared about was my sister. How could she possibly worry about my future? I pretended to obediently agree. "Alright." My mother immediately became overjoyed, as if the days of being a wealthy mother-in-law were already within reach. Sisters should help each other. Once your younger sister marries into a wealthy family, she can introduce you to drivers and butlers. Don't think you're a doctor and they're just servants. The wages of the staff in those wealthy households are quite good, although I don't harbor any professional prejudices. In my mother's eyes, no matter how much I achieve, I will always be inferior to my younger sister. After hanging up the phone, I pretended nothing had happened and continued to go to work. A week later, I took the initiative to return home with a fruit basket to visit my sister. The radiant Xiang Qing from my previous life now lay disheveled on the sofa, her nasolabial folds deeper than my mother's crow's feet. The room was filled with trash, leaving no space to step. When she saw me, she was still stuffing her mouth with high-calorie foods like pizza and egg tarts, looking messy and disgusting. Seeing me, she asked disdainfully, "What are you here for?" I put down the fruit basket and tried my best to look guilty. "Ching, I'm sorry. Last time I tried to help you alter your pregnancy test certificate, I almost got caught by the director. I'm afraid I can't help you with anything." Xiang Qing was so surprised that she forgot to chew. I continued to pour salt on the wound. What a pity. If Mom hadn't gone for breast augmentation surgery back then and had used that money to send me abroad, I wouldn't be struggling with a lack of qualifications now, making it so difficult to even alter a certificate for you. Under the influence of pregnancy hormones, my sister burst into tears, cursing me for being useless. She then turned around and called our mother. "You're already so old, what's the point of getting breast surgery? Why not use that money to send my sister abroad? You're always so biased. And now look, the certificate can't be altered. How am I supposed to marry into a wealthy family?" She spoke with an air of superiority, completely forgetting that her study abroad spot had been snatched from me. Mother was scolded to the point of humiliation over the phone, yet she was too afraid of upsetting my sister and risking her pregnancy to argue back. I set down the fruit basket and left, not wanting to listen to Xiang Qing's complaints. However, for a mother who had been in the business of pimping for decades without getting caught, a certificate was no big deal. At most, it would just cost some money, and she could easily get one from an unlicensed hospital outside. My sister Xiang Qing moved into the Zhao family as agreed, not for marriage, but just to have the baby. When I helped her pack and move into the Zhao house, there was another woman there, the same mistress from my previous life. I suddenly realized, judging by the timeline, it was hard to say for sure who the third party was between the two of them. When Xiang Qing saw the woman holding hands with Zhao Tianze, she went berserk, raising her hand and rushing over. "How dare you seduce my husband? I'll beat you to death, you vixen." The woman was a classic green tea, constantly hiding in Zhao Tianzi's arms. "Honey, look at her." Several times, Xiang Qing's slap landed on Zhao Tianzi's face. Finally, Zhao Tianze, losing patience, roared angrily, "Have you had enough? If you hadn't drugged me in the wine, how could I have fallen for your tricks and let you get pregnant with Xiao's child? I only love Xiao He. You're the fox spirit." Xiang Qing's tears fell in big drops, and soon she was clutching her stomach, crying out in pain. But in my eyes, Zhao Tianzi loves no one. He only loves beautiful faces. In his previous life, my sister was charming and alluring, and he married her despite the disparity in their family backgrounds. In this life, it's Xiao He who is beautiful and radiant, and he still brought her into the family for her looks. In the end, it was Zhao Tianzi's mother, Madame Zhao, who stepped in to resolve the farce. But Madame Zhao doted on her son, and her solution was to have the three of them live together in the same room. My sister had to swallow her pride and accept the situation, finally managing to live the life of a wealthy family. For this bizarre family, I try to stay as far away as possible. However, sometimes trouble comes looking for me. That afternoon, the department received a pregnant woman with a heart condition, who bore a striking resemblance to Zhao Tianzi. Upon inquiring, I discovered she was indeed Zhao Tianzi's younger sister, Zhao Xuejiao. This pregnancy was an unexpected occurrence, but she herself adored children and wished to keep the baby. Unfortunately, her congenital heart condition made it impossible for her to carry the pregnancy to term. Zhao Xuejiao's husband doted on his wife and made it clear that they should not have the child. Knowing her husband's intentions, Zhao Xuejiao still hesitated and sought professional medical advice. Had a strong impression of the name Zhao Xuejiao. In my previous life, under the influence of her sister's indoctrination, Zhao Xuejiao believed in anti-abortion rhetoric and insisted on keeping the child, resulting in a tragic death during childbirth, taking both her and the baby's lives. Unable to cope with the loss, her husband took a bottle of sleeping pills that very night. Following his wife in death, the Zhao family held Xiang Qing entirely responsible for this tragedy. Zhao Tianzi even demanded a divorce to shift the blame. My sister lied and said I had instigated her. My mother also asked me to endure for the sake of my sister's marital happiness. I endured, and the result was a demotion and the ruin of my future prospects. This time, I clearly explained the pros and cons, urging them from a scientific perspective not to be fixated on having a child, as Cherishing the happiness they have now is the most important thing. Zhao Xuejiao was eventually persuaded by me and agreed to have the surgery a week later, but to my surprise, a week later, the person who came was not Zhao Xuejiao, but my mother. Her current attire is an imitation of Mrs. Zhao's, but the luxurious haute couture looks out of place on her. Upon seeing me, she launched into a tirade. What kind of attitude is this for someone whose hands are stained with blood? How dare you even think of aborting the child of the Zhao family's young mistress? If this drags your sister down, you'll pay for it, I retorted coldly. My work is none of your business, please leave. Seeing that I remained unmoved, my mother finally revealed her true intentions. She took out 2 stacks of money from her bag and placed them on my desk. Your sister's unborn child is a potential problem, but Zhao Xuejiao's child is still a Zhao family bloodline. If we could swap the 2 children, even if your sister's husband suspects something, he won't be able to find any evidence, don't you think so? My mouth gaped open as I was once again shocked by the depths of this mother-daughter duo. They actually wanted to pull a switcheroo, replacing Zhao Xuejiao's child with Xiang Qing's, and their scheme was truly malicious, but there was no way I would agree to such an illegal and morally reprehensible act. Mother was furious, her voice sharp and unpleasant. Your sister has it so hard, unable to eat or sleep with the child in her belly, and you, as her older sister, don't feel the slightest bit of sympathy. I ask you for a favor, and you obstruct it at every turn. Are you even human? All these years, I've provided for you, fed you, and if it weren't for me, could you have become a doctor? You're truly an ungrateful wretch. I've heard these same words hundreds of times. It's a parent's duty to raise their children, but in her mouth, it becomes an enormous favor. Even if I took on all the housework, gave up my study abroad opportunity for my sister, and slaved away for her, in mother's eyes, it would still be me owing her. Her so-called repaying the favor knows no end. Suppressing the disappointment in my heart, I retorted, my sister has it hard because you, as a mother, didn't try hard enough. If you had been rich from the start, she wouldn't need to get pregnant to latch onto a rich second generation. If you don't have the ability, don't drag me down with you. After saying that, I directly kicked her out of the office. However, Zhao Xuejiao had already been persuaded. These past few days, I've been calling her constantly to work on her mindset, hoping she would face her health situation squarely and not be so fixated on having a child, but she sobbed over the phone. Dr. Xiang, but my sister-in-law said that a woman's uterus shouldn't become a slaughterhouse. I can't do something that would result in mother and child killing each other. The moment I heard these anti-abortion arguments, my head started to ache. The embryo's life is a life, but isn't your own life also a life? But I couldn't persuade a girl who was so determined to be a mother, and I certainly couldn't tell her that in her previous life, the outcome was a tragic loss of both mother and child, with her husband also passing away with her. Another week passed, and Zhao Xuejiao was rushed to the hospital by her family after fainting from an accident. This time, Mrs. Zhao was also present. Xiang Qing used the excuse of a prenatal checkup to tag along. Fearing that Zhao Xuejiao might give up on this pregnancy, I stood outside the ward and overheard Xiang Qing brainwashing Zhao Xuejiao. Which woman doesn't vomit during childbirth? I've never heard of anyone vomiting to death. Don't listen to the doctor's nonsense and give up on the baby. It's not easy to get pregnant, which means you have a special connection with this child. You absolutely must not have an abortion, or it will be difficult to conceive again in the future. Trust me, I'm also pregnant, and I was vomiting non-stop before, but it gets better if you endure it. Abortion really does harm your karma. Zhao Xuejiao was completely taken in by her words. However, her husband still insisted on not having the child. Xuejiao, I can't bear the risk of losing you. Whether we have a child or not doesn't matter. If I lose you, how can I go on living? Madame Zhao also found herself in a dilemma. At that moment, I pushed the door open and walked in. Seeing me, Xiang Qing immediately shouted in excitement, Mom, it's her, she's the one who wants to abort your own grandson. Xiang Yu, how could I have a sister as ruthless as you? You're short on KPI, so you're plotting against my nephew. You'll get your comeuppance. Madame Zhao's level of composure was significantly higher than Xiang Qing's. She merely glanced at me and said, Be quiet, let Dr. Xiang finish the examination first. Xiang Qing reluctantly fell silent. I conducted a preliminary examination on Zhao Xuejiao and found the situation wasn't good. A decision needed to be made quickly. After the examination, I deliberately had Zhao Xuejiao's husband take her to the department downstairs for a follow-up check, while I invited Madame Zhao to my office to discuss the matter in private. Half an hour later, Madame Zhao emerged with a face full of anger, but she quickly adjusted her emotions and, with a kind and gentle demeanor, led Xiang Qing back home. However, Xiang Qing still couldn't set her mind at ease. Fearing the loss of the child in Zhao Xuejiao's womb, Madame Zhao reassured her, "How could I not want my own grandson? With today's advanced technology, I believe there are better hospitals abroad that can help Xuejiao with her pregnancy." Only then did Xiang Qing's anxious heart finally settle. A few more months passed, and the number of admissions to the hospital's obstetrics department gradually decreased, with many expectant mothers even switching hospitals at the last minute. In turn, Lu, a medical student at the hospital, said that a rumor had recently spread from somewhere, claiming that the doctors at their hospital had performed countless abortions, and no baby born under their care had ever survived. The exaggeration was no less than accusing the doctors of murder. Strangely, despite how absurd the rumor was, some people actually believed it. One day after work, I saw several middle-aged women conducting anti-abortion propaganda outside the hospital. They held up megaphones and shouted, "The hospital performs approximately 13 million abortions each year, equivalent to one Wenchuan earthquake every 2 days, one Tangshan earthquake every 7 days, and one Nanjing massacre every 9 days. Our children can die for their country, but they must not die at the hands of their own mothers." I felt goosebumps all over my body as I listened. Their words sounded noble and righteous, but did that mean they could disregard the life and health of pregnant women and ignore women's reproductive freedom for the sake of the child? I patiently waited until nightfall and followed them as they left. Sure enough, I found them at the supermarket entrance, where they were collecting their wages from the mother. To disgust me, this mother-daughter duo really spared no effort. 8 months later, Xiang Qing was due to give birth prematurely, presumably influenced by too many palace dramas. She deliberately imitated consort Shi this time, stubbornly waiting for her rival to appear, intentionally picking a fight, and blaming her premature birth on the other person. When I received the call and rushed to the hospital, Xiang Qing was already undergoing examination. Even when falsely accused, Xiao He remained true to her green tea persona, clinging to Zhao Tianzi like a koala. "Tianzi, I truly have no way to defend myself." Zhao Tianzi kept comforting the woman in his arms, the two of them deeply affectionate. Madame Zhao, holding a string of prayer beads, remained calm and composed. I was utterly superfluous, but this spectacle, I had to watch. In my previous life, Xiang Qing blamed all her misfortunes on me. In this life, I wanted to see if, with a child, she could live better. Half an hour later, my mother pushed the wheelchair out, with Xiang Qing seated in it, her belly looking as large as if she were 10 months pregnant. The doctor said the possibility of premature birth was very high and hoped she would stay in the hospital, ready for delivery at any time. The Zhao family was not short of money and immediately arranged for a VIP ward, but Xiang Qing was insistent on seeing Zhao Xuejiao. "Xuejiao is about to give birth too, right? Thinking of her abroad, I feel heartbroken. When I give birth, I have family by my side, but she has no one." Green tea took the lead. "Isn't her husband human?" Xiang Qing was momentarily choked. Then her mother stepped in to smooth things over. "I've heard that some men don't care about their wives, refuse to allow epidurals, and won't consent to cesareans. Having family around is always a bit safer." This time, it was Zhao Tianzi who grew impatient. "Do I not know what kind of person my brother-in-law is? Do you really think you have the right to criticize him?" At that moment, Madame Zhao set down her prayer beads. "Enough, Zhao Qing is pregnant. Everything should prioritize the well-being of the mother." Zhao Tianzi and Xiao He could only remain silent, while Xiang Qing and her mother stood tall and proud, as if they had won a great victory. Half an hour later, Zhao Xuejiao arrived, without a baby bump. Xiang Qing's eyes widened in shock when she saw the carefree Zhao Xuejiao and cried out in despair, "Where's your child? Why didn't you tell me you gave birth?" Zhao Xuejiao looked radiant at the moment, her stomach flat, completely unlike someone who was pregnant. She replied gently, "Xiao Qing, my husband and I thought it over many times and decided to terminate the pregnancy. Everything had been going according to plan. But just before success, a sudden twist occurred." Xiang Qing was so furious that she spoke without thinking. "Abortion will bring you retribution. When you die, you'll go to hell, be tortured on knives and in boiling oil, and the king of hell won't allow a woman who killed her own flesh and blood to be reincarnated." As soon as the words left her mouth, Zhao Tianzi slapped her across the face. "Show some respect to my sister. What kind of bullshit anti-abortion nonsense is that? It's just an Excuse for you to try to elevate your status by having a child. My sister will have the baby if she wants to, and she won't if she doesn't. What business is it of yours? Xiang Qing was so frightened that she hid in her mother's arms. Her mother was both anxious and furious. Zhao's son-in-law, Xiao Qing is pregnant. How could you lay a hand on her? Zhao Xuejiao, gentle and kind, didn't get angry even when scolded. She even urged Zhao Tianzi, brother, hurry up and apologize, sister-in-law is pregnant, you can't upset her like that. The scene was in chaos, but I spotted Xiang Qing's wet trouser leg with precision. Her water had broken. Mother shouted in panic, doctor, quickly call a doctor. Xiang Yu, what kind of doctor are you? Hurry up and deliver your sister's baby. I sneered, this isn't the hospital where I work. Do you think I can just deliver a baby on command, to keep me at bay? This mother and daughter had deliberately chosen a private hospital, dozens of kilometers away from the one where I worked. Fortunately, the doctor arrived quickly, and Xiang Qing was soon rushed into the delivery room. Outside the delivery room, mother was pacing like an ant on a hot pan, occasionally glaring at me. Seeing me chatting happily with Zhao Xuejiao, she seemed to connect the dots. Xiang Yu, was it you who performed Xuejiao's abortion? I nodded decisively. It was me, 8 months ago. I sent Zhao Xuejiao and her husband to the department downstairs for a checkup. There happened to be a pregnant woman who had fainted due to insisting on continuing her pregnancy, and she died from shock. Even the hospital director himself couldn't save her. A perfectly good life was lost just like that. Seeing the deceased's family members collapsed at the door, crying until they fainted, Zhao Xuejiao was deeply shocked and saddened. For the first time, she felt that she should cherish the people around her. The child was not at fault, but she couldn't ignore the feelings of her loved ones. In the end, she made the decision to say goodbye to her child. After hearing this, my mother raised her hand and slapped me. I'll beat you to death, you murderer. I quickly dodged out of the way. The bodyguards from the Zhao family held her back firmly. She cursed in a shrill voice, you've harmed so many people, you'll surely be punished by heaven sooner or later. How could I have given birth to such a beast like you? But I knew what she truly blamed me for, that I hadn't been able to help my sister replace her child with one carrying the Zhao family's bloodline. Selfish people always have countless noble excuses. I replied indifferently, regret it now. If you've got the guts, put me back in your womb. This made my mother sit on the ground, wailing in anger. 2 hours later, a female doctor emerged from the operating room and asked, is there any family member of Xiang Qing here? Everyone rushed forward, especially Mrs. Zhao, who valued the continuity of the bloodline the most, but the female doctor continued to ask, is it only these people? Are there any relatives from overseas? The mother pushed through the crowd and rushed forward. I'm her mother. Save the mother at all costs. She was terrified that Xiang Qing might have complications during childbirth, but the doctor gave her a dismissive look. Hospital regulations clearly state that the pregnant woman comes first during the delivery process. Please don't worry, we won't harm the mother. Madame Zhao looked down on this unsophisticated in-law the most and frowned, asking, is there something wrong with my daughter-in-law? Can we go in and take a look? The doctor didn't know how to respond and decided to avoid the question, instead asking, where is the husband of the pregnant woman? Zhao Tianzi reluctantly stepped forward. It's me, doctor. If there's a problem, just tell me directly. Is there a physical defect with the baby, missing limbs? Don't worry, my family can afford to raise them. Mrs. Zhao slapped him hard. Shut up, don't curse the child. After saying that, she took out her Buddhist beads and murmured, Amitabha, praying for the child's health and safety. The female doctor hesitated, still not giving a direct answer. Family members, prepare yourselves mentally, I'll go get the baby. This whole scene made me think the child might have some physical defect, following my doctor's habit. I casually asked Zhao Tianzi, how has Xiang Qing's diet been during her pregnancy? Zhao Tianzi looked utterly disgusted. She eats nothing but unhealthy stuff every day, pizza, egg tarts, fried chicken, and she devours fruits by the basketful. When I tell her to eat less, it's like asking for her life. She eats and poops non-stop, always running to the bathroom. Plus, she's got this terrible paranoia, won't even let me sleep in the same room as Xiao He. Just as everyone was on edge, the doctor finally brought the baby out. Now, everyone, including Green Tea, stretched their necks to get a look. Madame Zhao took one glance and dropped her prayer beads in shock. Zhao Tianzi couldn't hold back and curse it out loud. My mother, after seeing it, fainted on the spot. I thought to myself, could this child have 2 heads? I might as well squeeze in and take a look. Not looking was one thing, but the moment I did, I was shocked. blonde hair, blue eyes, a definite foreign baby. There was no need for any further explanation. The green hat on Zhao Tianzi's head was even greener than Shen Xiaohai's. Enraged, he kicked the wall. Fuck, Xiang Qing actually dared to give me a green hat. The mother on the ground slowly regained consciousness, only to be grabbed by the collar by Zhao Tianzi. Have you been treating me like a fool? Spit it out. Zhao Tianzi was truly livid, his face flushed red, and veins bulging on his neck. Even though he didn't like Xiang Qing, he had still hoped for a child to play with, yet, the child had directly become an international version of a cuckold, which no man could accept. His mother was so frightened that she didn't dare move, only pleading repeatedly. Just as I thought she would cry and confess the truth, begging the Zhao family for forgiveness, my resourceful mother pulled out another big move. No, Tianzi, you really are the child's father. This child is yours. My grandparents were Europeans, so this child must have a recessive bloodline, making them even more beautiful and noble. Standing to the side, I was deeply impressed by my mother's thought process. If it weren't for the inappropriate setting, would have really wanted to applaud her. She could come up with any excuse imaginable. Zhao Tianzi laughed in anger and raised his fist to strike her face. One punch for the foreigner, one punch for the regression. With just a tiny bit of foreign blood, diluted over 6 generations, could it possibly produce such a big little foreigner? Do you think I'm stupid? His mother cried out for help. Xiaoyu, save me, save me. I was also afraid of the punches hitting me, so I took 2 steps back. Seeing that I wasn't coming to her rescue, a look of hatred flashed in my mother's eyes, and she quickly shifted the blame. It's her, it's Xiangyu. She forced Xiaoqing to pin the child on you, and she forced me to keep quiet. Please, don't hit me, hit her instead. Zhao Tianzi let go of his bruised and swollen mother and walked towards me. You knew too, didn't you? And you deliberately kept quiet. I didn't respond, only looking at Madame Zhao. Madame Zhao sighed, picking up the prayer beads from the ground. Tianzi, this matter, Dr. Xiang had already told me long ago, 8 months ago. I took Madame Zhao to my office for a detailed discussion. Once inside, I didn't say anything, only showed her a surveillance video. It was the entire process of my mother consulting me about switching Zhao Shujiao's child with Xiang Qing's. Madame Zhao was sharp. After watching the video, she knew there must be something wrong with the child, and she didn't even ask me whether the child was really her son's. The wealthy aren't fools. Instead of listening to nonsense, it's better to do a DNA test and let the facts speak for themselves. Madame Zhao had originally planned to wait until the child was born to conduct the test, but the moment she saw the child, she already knew the answer. When Zhao Tianzi heard such explosive news, he was filled with rage, turning to rush into the ward to beat up Xiang Qing, but Madame Zhao stopped him. She can scheme against me, but she can't harm my sister. It was the first time I realized that even a scumbag could have a protective side when it came to his sister, but the flaw didn't overshadow the rest. Zhao Tianzi was still a scumbag in my eyes. When Xiang Qing was wheeled out of the delivery room, she was still unconscious. When she woke up at night and saw the whole family gathered around her bed, she thought she had given birth to a son and that a life of luxury was just around the corner. Excitedly, she looked at Zhao Tianzi. Honey, now that the baby is born, when are we going to have the wedding? This time, Green Tea surprisingly refrained from interrupting, only gazing pitifully at the woman on the hospital bed. Xiang Qing thought the other person was showing weakness and immediately became smug. Honey, let's live a good life as a family of 3. When are we going to kick this vixen out? Zhao Tianzi remained silent, his head bowed. As soon as his father spoke, it would likely lead to violence. Xiang Qing finally sensed the unusual atmosphere in the ward and asked in confusion, "Where's my mom? Where did she go?" Madame Zhao recited the Heart Sutra of Guanyin 3 times but couldn't calm down. She said coldly, "The moment you wake up, you're thinking about the wedding, about your mother, but you don't even ask about the child." Xiang Qing's heart skipped a beat, but she still forced herself to remain calm. "With you taking care of the child, how could I possibly not be at ease? Speaking of the child, I miss her too. Let me see the child, bring her in." Xiang Qing's face was originally full of tenderness, but after seeing the child's hair, her expression turned to horror. "No, this is not my child. Xiangyu, you switched my child, deliberately framing me. Isn't that right?" I almost wanted to praise her for how quickly her mind worked, immediately trying to pin the blame on me the moment something happened. However, Zhao Tianzi had already reached his limit. "Shut up." She came out of the delivery room as a little foreigner, who could have switched her. Xiang Qing, how dare you even think about our child? I will never, ever let you into my family." Xiang Qing covered her face and wept bitterly. Her psychological resilience was clearly not as strong as her mother's. She couldn't come up with any excuse like atavistic bloodline, and could only repeatedly kneel and beg for mercy. "Although the child is not yours, my sincerity is yours. I love you, and that's why I wanted to have another child to keep you." But the Zhao family would never believe such nonsense again. After being discharged from the hospital, Xiang Qing was completely driven out of the Zhao household. Zhao Tianzi packed all her belongings and threw them outside the door, not even leaving her a toilet seat cover. As for the child with blonde hair and blue eyes, Zhao Tianzi was resolute in not accepting him. Xiang Qing lost her chance at a wealthy marriage because of this child and hates her to death. I was afraid she might secretly strangle the baby, so I took the child home. But as a doctor, I'm always busy with work and can't spare the time to take care of the baby. Just when I was at my wit's end, Zhao Shuajiao appeared like an angel, she said. "Although the child isn't my older brother's, I truly hope she can be born safely. Dar, Xiang, please rest assured, I will treat her as if she were my own daughter." But I still didn't immediately agree. It wasn't that I was worried Zhao Shuajiao couldn't raise the child, but that I was concerned Xiang Qing might see the baby as a long-term source of income and cause trouble again in the future. To eliminate any future trouble once and for all, I asked Zhao Shuajiao to find the white classmate my sister had met at the cruise party and hired him with a hefty sum to come and take the child. Of course, I had my doubts about whether the man was the child's biological father, but he just shook his head. With a smile, "I don't know, there were too many people that night." I swallowed all my questions in an instant. As expected, Xiang Qing was furious and cursed loudly when she saw the white classmate. Upon hearing that he had come to take the child, she simply handed the child over to him. In fact, Xiang Qing still wanted a sum of money to sever the mother-daughter relationship, but the white man had already received my instructions. As soon as she mentioned money, he would propose marriage. This scared Xiang Qing so much that she was incoherent, desperate to get rid of the child immediately. "Dream on, I'm going to be a wealthy socialite in the future, and I can't just go abroad with you and live a nomadic life." Having tasted the sweetness of money, how could she possibly be willing to give up her comfortable life? After successfully obtaining custody of the child, Zhao Shujiao left the country with her child and husband. Without the Zhao family, the mother and daughter finally remembered that I, their sister, existed. They brazenly moved into the house I rented. During the day, while I was at work, they broke in. At night, when I returned, they expected me to serve them like a maid. "You treacherous ingrate, if it weren't for you, your sister would have already stayed in the Zhao family by using Zhao Shuajiao's child. This is what you owe her, and you have to atone for it with the rest of your life." Before high school, I was completely controlled by my mother's way of thinking, feeling like I owed her everything. It wasn't until I developed a sense of self and no longer wanted to live so burdened that I was met with a harsh slap across the face. In college, I had the opportunity to attend Tsinghua or Peking University, but I was forced to stay in the province to take care of my sister. My mother justified it with, "Getting into a 211 university is already a compromise for you. If it weren't for your sister, I would have wanted you to drop out and come home to take care of me." During college, I was the one who secured a government-sponsored study abroad opportunity, but at my sister's whim of, "I want to go," I had to give it up for her. But now, I won't be a fool and let them use me as a scapegoat to atone for their sins, I coldly retorted. "It's you who should be atoning, isn't it? If it weren't for you making her pin the child on Zhao Tianzi, she wouldn't have taken the wrong path. Maybe she could have really married into the Zhao family and legitimately born offspring for them." Under the influence of her mother, Xiang Qing was already prone to shifting the blame. After hearing my words, she found them very reasonable. "Exactly, it's all your fault. If it weren't for your bad advice, how could I have been kicked out?" Her mother, being accused by her most beloved youngest daughter, was heartbroken. "Wasn't it because you were shameless enough to get pregnant, and then you talked about anti-abortion, refusing to terminate it? I went through so much trouble to get you an opportunity to meet the son of a tycoon, and you didn't even try. Who can you blame?" Xiang Qing was accused by her mother like this for the first time, and she was so angry that she grabbed an apple and threw it at her mother's head. "It's your fault. It's your bad idea." This action completely ignited her mother's anger. "I've spent money, given up land for you, and even got beaten up by Zhao Tianzi, you ungrateful wretch." The two of them started wrestling on the sofa. I went straight back to my room, grabbed my bank card and the passport I had prepared long ago, and left home that night. by the time they ran to the hospital to block me the next day, I had already boarded a flight for an overseas exchange program. Without the burden of this mother and daughter in this life, I finally got the chance to go abroad for exchange. After coming back and enduring for a few more years, I can get promoted and go abroad the following year. Zhao Shuajiao contacted me and invited me to her home for a visit. As soon as I stepped inside, I saw the little mixed-race child, hopping and skipping around. Zhao Shuajiao had named her Qianqian. The little one was chubby and exceptionally lively, becoming the family's source of joy. She kept grabbing my hand and calling me auntie. Under Zhao Shuajiao's care, Qianqian was completely different from her biological mother. She received proper education and grew up in a loving family. Zhao Shuajiao whispered to me, "My brother came by a few months ago and brought a gift for Qianqian." I was a bit surprised. That big jerk, could he really be so kind? Zhao Shuajiao also sighed. If he hadn't given the child the nickname, Little Green Hat, it would have been even better. It seems Zhao Tianzi still cared a lot about the green hat on his head. 3 years later, when I returned to work in the country, I heard that Zhao Tianzi and Shen Xiaohai got married. At the wedding, Xiang Qing suddenly appeared out of nowhere to cause trouble, shouting loudly, "I gave birth to your child, you can't marry someone else." As a result, Zhao Tianzi beat her up on the spot. As for my mother, I heard that she was heartbroken by Xiang Qing and returned to her hometown to marry an old man. Now she is beaten 3 times a day and tormented by her stepson and mother-in-law. The next time I saw Xiang Qing was during a medical disturbance at the hospital. It was said that a wealthy lady had come to the hospital to beat up her husband's mistress. I went over to maintain order and saw Xiang Qing being pulled by the hair and beaten by an ant. "Come and see, it's her, shamelessly entangled with my husband, a man 30 years older than her." Xiang Qing, upon seeing me, had initially not resisted, but from somewhere, she suddenly found the strength to push the wife aside. Her face contorted with rage as she shouted at me, "Why should you live so brightly? I'm the one who's always been the most pampered in this family. You're not allowed to live better than me." With that, she grabbed the suture scissors from the table and lunged at me. But times have changed. After being robbed 3 times abroad, I've honed my evasive skills. Seeing the situation turn bad, I immediately took off running. Xiang Qing didn't even touch the hem of my clothes before I was already hundreds of meters away, leaving my colleague stunned. The security guards quickly subdued Xiang Qing. After the police took her away for questioning, I learned that she had actually come to the hospital to check for sexually transmitted diseases. In the end, Xiang Qing was sentenced to 3 years in prison for intentional assault. 2 years later, I finally rose to the position of director. The future that I had never possessed in my previous life was finally unfolding step by step on a smooth path. I also witnessed the birth of Zhao Tianzi and Shen Xiaoya's child. Zhao Shujiao brought Qianqian back to visit the newborn. In the hospital room, Zhao Tianzi called out, "Little Green Hat," one after another. "Little Green Hat is here to see you, little sister. She's prettier than you, Little Green Hat. Come, let uncle hold you. Don't you dare throw away the toys I bought you." I closed the ward door and continued my rounds. Life's choices are never just one. Taking a risky path doesn't guarantee victory. Only self-rescue can truly change one's fate. A smooth future lies at your feet. Strive to break through, and the future will belong to you. After hearing the stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.